was WCW for you as a fan? What was it?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the fastest podcast on the airwaves. Today, the Cat's Corner podcast with your host, the four-time world karate champion, WCW legend, WWE legend, Mr. Ernest "The Cat" Miller, and the co-host, Big Shug, Keziah, manager of future Hall of Famers, always trying to get over but can't seem to get there. Welcome, Mr. Miller, to your own podcast, sponsored by Recite and Lux Jewelers, your one-stop shop for all your jewelry needs, also your one-stop shop for all your construction needs. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. We got a quick recap of Who Killed WCW, a follow-up to a podcast we did last week with Sonny Ono and the one and only Stevie Ray. How you been, Mr. Miller? I understand you've been fighting in a karate tournament, the Battle of Atlanta, and I heard you had to beat about everybody in Atlanta to win that thing.
Hey, well, man, you know what it is what it is. Man, you know, it was a work day for me. I put on my boots, put on my hat, and I went to work.
Took your lunch pail and went in to whoop some ass.
I went in to working at. But this is the strange thing. Now, I'm gonna tell you this right here. If you have to let it, or you've been like involved into something where you go by like your age or your height or your weight, you know. When I started at 8 years old doing karate, they had a ring for the the 8 and 9 year old. Mm-hmm. They had a ring for it. And I remember going into the ring and telling my teacher, my karate instructor, that I did not want to fight with these little boys, these little guys. He said, "That's your age group. Go in there and beat them, and then you can move up." But then when I got, let's say I got 10 to 12, that ring, I always thought like the same thing. This ring is below me, beneath me. Now I'm 60 years old, and that's the last ring, 60 plus. So I went into the ring at 60 plus, but as I was looking around at some of the guys I'd probably be competing against, it didn't look fair. It looked like these guys are not in my class, not in the same boat. But I heard my teacher say then, go in there and beat everybody in this level. And that's what I did. Pure domination.
Well, congratulations on Battle of Atlanta. Once again, the man, the myth, the legend, Ernest "The Cat" Miller, kicking his way to the top.
Yeah, but we ain't here to talk about karate. I get that.
We're here to talk about.
I get real emotional when I talk about martial arts.
Well, listen, I don't want you crying on this. The only thing I want to cry for is the Patreons and the people to hit that like and subscribe button to donate to the Cat's Corner podcast to keep us going. I don't like to beg for money like some preacher on cable TV, like, "Our Lord said you need to rise up and give us some money so we can keep going now, if you will." But we need some money to keep this thing going. Everybody out there in TV land, as my man said before, get you a cup of coffee and sit down and let Uncle Ernie tell you some stories you ain't supposed to know about behind the scenes workings of who really killed WCW.
Hey, Big Ray, I thought you said you didn't want to sound like we were begging for money. And
man, you know I beg for money now. I beg for two things.
Ain't no shame in your game.
Listen, I'm part Jewish.
This is what I said.
I'm gonna beg for some money, baby.
This is what I say right here. You got people
money. I will beg for
it. You got people right near where I live at, right in the back of I own a condo in Atlanta. We got a coffee shop. We got a coffee,
Quit bragging.
Bro, we got a coffee shop right near. It's on the beautiful, right on the river. You can sit down, and people come and spend $15 for a cup of coffee.
That's on the Chattahoochee, isn't it?
Yeah, and they just sit there and watch the water just flow. And sometimes wonder, like, what are they doing? What are they thinking about? But they've been entertained in that moment by that cup of coffee and that flowing, the scenery. Listen. Yeah. If you're listening to us, we'd like to hope that some of the information that we're giving you that we will be giving you. We'd like to hope that you are really
entertained.
Enjoy. Yeah, be entertained, enjoy it. You know, so I'm not just talking to you about just talking to you. I'm talking to you about things that you wasn't there, things that you might have been there, you just might have missed. You know, so we want to entertain you with these stories. So in order to do that, if you pay $15 for a cup of coffee, why don't you pay $9, $5, send up whatever you want to, just so we can keep the lights running, keep the things, keep our time available for you guys.
Yeah, I
Now,
think they will. I think they will.
now,
But getting back to that, getting back to who put the bullet in the head, so to speak, of WCW, as we did our podcast last week, which was pretty eye-opening, on the heels of the second episode of Who Killed WCW. Tonight is the third installment. I don't know when this will be aired, but tonight will be the third installment. And there's only 4, so we're halfway home. And hopefully, as the next 2 versions come out, it'll give us a little more insight on who really did it. There's a lot of people's opinions involved. We never really got yours. You know, I was of the opinion that you give somebody like Hulk Hogan creative control to control all of his outcomes. That ain't going to work for me, brother, on something that when it really would have worked for the betterment of the overall company. And he got one, you know, real short-sighted, in my opinion, and made it all about him. You can't have a company for one person when you got 200 people working there. It can't be for one person. So
yeah,
that's my opinion.
But Ray, listen, I don't have an opinion because I really don't think any one person or anybody. I don't think WCW is dead. If WCW is dead, why are we still building content around WCW?
Because
And you
it's
know, there's people
but
out there. I'm not asking you a question. I'm just summarizing what you said. Think about this. WCW. What was WCW for you as a fan? What was it? World Championship Wrestling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Alternative to WWE with more, to me, more realistic storylines, not as character driven, like you have a Mountie, like a Canadian policeman or a plumber or a bunch of tropical storms and stuff that were wrestlers like typhoon and earthquakes and stuff like that. I mean, you had real wrestlers with their real names and they're doing, they're fighting more realistically to me, like the old NWA versus the WWF back in the day, and then it became WCW versus WWE. So, to answer your question, to me, WCW was the alternative, and it was more realistic. We'll take out of the equation ECW, which went to the extreme with barbed wires and chairs and chains and all that craziness that was really lifelike. But
see, you doing right now, you doing what AEW is, I think, making a mistake. I asked you one question. I said, what was WCW? And you start bringing up WWE, WWF, ECW. You start bringing up all these other things. What was WCW to you?
I said the alternative.
To what?
To WWE. It was the other brand. It was Ford and Chevy. It was the other brand. To me, it was the more realistic brand.
So do you think WCW and WWE was at war with themselves? Or do you think they was working all to promote professional wrestling?
I would love to think that it was a work, brother. I would like to think it was a work and not a shoot.
No. I don't want to hear that dumbass Hogan voice. I want to hear your voice. I want to get it from you, Ray.
What I'm saying is I would like to think it was a shoot, that they were truly at war with each other for my attention, for the fans' attention.
Now let me ask you this. How could they be at war with each other when there was no back and forth? There was no back and forth. It was WWE on a totally different network putting their show on. WCW on another network putting on a wrestling show. So they both working to promote professional wrestling. What made fans think that they were promoting their show head on at each other to see who put on the better show?
Well, how do you explain going head to head on a Monday night at the same time slot? Yes, definitely on two different networks, because you can't show the same show at the same time on the same network. That's impossible. But how do you explain the Norfolk Scope when DX shows up in a damn army Jeep and trying to get into the building while y'all are doing a live Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Nitro?
But that had nothing to do with us, because we didn't even know they was there. I'm telling you, I was in there filming. We did not know what was going on because we was into doing what we was doing. Working.
Well, yeah, you were running a show at the time. So the only people that knew was the security team, because they were knocking on the door trying to get in.
So, I mean, isn't that part of entertainment though, right?
Oh, I would have loved for the door to roll up and y'all went at it. That would have been awesome.
I mean, but look, let me ask you something. Why would we go at it? We're not at physical. We're not at what we call a war. I did not dislike anybody that worked in WWE. So to me, it wasn't a war. To me, it was like it was a good time for wrestling fans. They got to see it was all the same. There's no different to me. It was all the same. You can put on
You're pulling 9 to 10 million people a week, which is phenomenal when you're comparing it to this crop of wrestling fans, and you're WWE pulling almost 2, and AEW is barely pulling 800,000. So it's 10 times the viewership it was back then. So to me, now again, with social media as prevalent as it is today, I think you're seeing a lot more eyes on the product, but it's after the fact. But back then it was must-see TV. You had to be in front of that TV to see it. So that's why I think you pulled more people, in my opinion. But the war was a Monday night war. It was the war for Monday night. You know, it wasn't really, I would say, a war. And it was, I guess, in effect, a war between two companies, because y'all were stealing each other's talents. You know, if their contract came up.
Wait a minute. How about in the NFL? When guy get cut from one team, he end up on the other team.
Oh yeah, that's how I viewed it. That's exactly how
but that's not a war. That's just business. That's how they run the NFL business.
Well,
every team tried to be the best they could be, and they did. They showed that by the outcome or how many games they were winning. Not just to have a war that go out on the field and go against. You got New England Patriot headed in to go against Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be a war on that field. Now, these guys are really competing. They're competing.
Well, I get that. But just imagine if there was only 2 NFL teams, period. There's 32 teams. So that kind of dilutes the war. If there's 2 teams and they're battling for supremacy, there's, probably going to be a lot more cutthroat stuff going on. They're going to want to get the best linebacker they can get, because there's only 2 teams. There's 32 of them. There's 32 good linebackers.
Listen. Atlanta Falcons. Let's just use Atlanta Falcons. They just Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. They just signed Kirk Cousins from Minnesota. They just got hit with a couple of violations where they said that they
tampered.
They went in and started talking to Kirk Cousins before the allowed time.
Correct.
So
they gave up a fifth round draft pick because of it, and a $250,000 fine.
Yeah, but how was that? Like, Falcons not at war with Minnesota.
No, they just broke the rules. They got to him before anybody else and said, "We'll do this. Don't sign with nobody else. Sign with us when it comes time. And here's what we'll do for you."
So when you say they tampered with WWE, tampered with
I
Chris
didn't say they
Jericho,
tampered. I just said that they were stealing each other's talents. Like, hey, your
how were you?
contract's coming up.
How were you stealing? How do
Well,
you
just
feel they were
think about
stealing?
it. Think about it. If your contract was coming up with WCW and Vince called you, he knew when your contract was coming up and said, hey, whatever they offer you, I'm gonna put another 100,000 on top of it for you to come here. To me, that's stealing the talent. They're paying you
No,
more to get
because
you to
they
come.
don't know. No, because they don't know how well their talent gonna do when they get there. You never know. Have you ever seen where WCW signed Bret Hart, and Bret Hart did not do what he did in WWE?
Well,
So
I
he
think that was
did.
bad booking on their part. I think he could have been a great hand for WCW and maybe taken WCW.
I think Bret Hart did what they wanted to do. He was part of the system right then. The scheme was to go and get all the guys from WWE that we can get, not to work and make our rating, but just to be part of the wrestling storyline. This is
Right.
all it was. It's just making people talk more about wrestling and wanted to see exactly what was going on with Bret Hart now that he's in WCW.
Right. But do you agree that they didn't book him the correct way?
What was the correct way? Do you think everything that they did with Bret Hart and WWE was the reason he got over? Or did he just enjoy that time that he was on TV and he was able to be himself?
Well, in the
Do you think
WWE, he was portrayed as the excellence of execution, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, and was the champion for a pretty good while, carried the company. Um, and then they put the strap on Shawn Michaels when they knew he was going out and supposedly screwed him at the Montreal screw job. And then things in his life kind of went downhill after that. He came into WCW, which we thought as fans, you saw that happen on Sunday night. That was the end of his run. We thought Monday night we would see him in the ring at WCW. That's what I would have done. Obviously, there was a few more days left on his contract with WWE at the time, so he did not get lit up. It was several weeks before we
let
saw
me
him come down
let
the
me
ramp.
explain to you from my side, my point of view, being in the business and being into any kind of sports entertainment, football, karate, anything. When
Right.
you owned in a certain place and you'd have worked your tail off, and then finally you made it to that spot that Bret Hart was in WWE at that time when he was there. And then all of a sudden your contract is up and they want to pay you more money to move to a different network, different venue, different sanction, WCW. Now, once you get there, you already know it's going. You got to work your way to the top. You got to work your way into different storylines. You got to work yourself into that. Now, that's a lot of work you got to do over again. You see what I'm saying? You got to do this over again.
I do
There's
get
not
that,
there.
but
Hold
they
on,
didn't
let
do
me
that for
finish,
everybody.
bro. Let me finish. Let me
Okay.
finish. I'm reaching a point.
Okay.
Bret Hart worked his tail off to where he was big time over one of the top guys in WWE or WWF when he was there. To all of a sudden now, I don't care what it is. If he's chasing the money, I don't think it was like they were going to give him anything different than what he got over at WWE, other
Let me
than more
correct you.
money.
Correct
Other
you.
than more money. You can't
Yeah,
correct me because I was there. I was in
I
the
know,
office
but
when they were
the
talking about it.
contract he signed with Vince was 10 years, $1 million a year for 10 years, $10 million contract. He got halfway through the first year of that. Vince said, I cannot pay you that. Then he started negotiating with Eric, and I believe the figure was $7 million for 3 years. Something like that. Might have been 9 million. I don't know. It was one of those two, but it wasn't but for like 3 years. So he was going to be getting roughly $2.5, $3 million a year. Vince helped him work that out and said, go there and get the money because I cannot pay you. Because at that time, the WWF was behind in the ratings and they weren't making that much money.
Bro,
weren't.
Now you just throwing stuff out there.
No, I'm just telling you what they've already said.
Wrestling, just because they might have been losing in their ratings, they were
Vince
still
could
doing
not
big
afford to pay
numbers.
him the contract.
They were still doing big numbers. They were
Well, yeah, but he still couldn't afford to pay him that contract.
They
and
were
so he
still
let
doing
him
merchandise. They're doing merchandise.
Had I been booking it, he'd have came in and joined the NWO right off the bat because he left WWE as a heel, in my opinion. He left as a heel. He did not want to drop the strap. He was being a bitch about it, in my honest opinion. He did not want to drop the strap to Shawn Michaels. He wanted to give the belt up on Monday Night Raw the next night after the pay-per-view, and they were going to do some kind of stupid tournament.
Let me explain something to you. And I shouldn't even be telling you this, but I sat right there when they were talking about his contract.
Right.
He will offer a little bit more money at WCW. The storylines that he had foreseen that he was going to eventually be a part of, they had nothing for him really written but the same thing. This was the opportunity for him to have a money grab. He was going to leave WWE, go grab that money. He can always come back to WWF or WWE.
Right.
Now, when he got there, you had everybody there. You can't just say, I'm going to take somebody and put them into the hottest storyline you have.
That's what I'm saying.
As a
nobody would have expected it. That's why I would have did it. I'd have put him in with the NWO. I made him feel like he was going to be one of the guys. I'd have done almost exactly what they did with Hogan. Have him come down the ramp to save Sting, and then drop a leg drop on Sting.
What kind of business do you run?
I've run a couple of different businesses, but I'm just saying.
Just one. Just tell me that you're major.
I run a finance business currently.
Okay, you need to stick to run a finance business because the bullshit you said now that you would have done
I said it
right
was
away.
fantasy booking, brother.
Bro, I don't fantasy book. I'm an actual wrestler. I worked in the business.
Get that. And if I was booking, I'd have booked your ass a little higher up too.
You don't have to kiss my ass.
I'm just saying, but you know how I feel about you. I felt like you was the most underutilized talent they had.
Listen, I will book just where I needed to be. I did not have the experience. Listen, I didn't have the experience to know where I was at. Even
it don't matter. You had the guidance. You had the guidance of Sonny Ono. You didn't need to know what you didn't need to know.
Listen, if we gonna talk about this, you gotta stop playing. See, you laughing. Right. This was a very traumatic moment for a lot of people. People lost their job. People lost their ability to make a lot of money because WWE did not sign everybody like they said they would once they left. So,
like he said, everybody will have the opportunity, but the people that had the guaranteed contracts could make more money sitting at home than they could with the new contract that they were offered by the people that bought them. So I don't blame them for sitting at home.
Now let me ask you this right here, damn Big Ray. Being that WWE and WCW was working to make the business better, and it was one of the time when the business of pro wrestling was doing very good numbers as a whole. What do you think WCW would kill? To me, I look at WCW as a company that was just put away for a little while. And we'll pinch off of it. You know, have your mom ever made you a nice big piece of cake and you take that cake and you don't want to just eat it right now. You just wanted to make it last. You put it in the refrigerator, then you just pinch off of it. You know, you get a little taste of it. But you know in the back of your head, it's in the refrigerator if I wanted a piece of cake. WCW to me will put in the refrigerator. Somewhere where it wouldn't stale, where it never disappear. Vince McMahon took WCW because WCW, they always said, when did it die?
When did it
the
die?
business die?
In Orlando in 2000.
When did the bit what?
In Orlando in 2000, that last
Bro,
Monday Night Nitro. To me, is when it died.
No, bro, listen, it did not die. You had a guy who was trying to buy WCW for $150 million offer to them.
Yeah. And then they sell it to McMahon for $2 million. That's ridiculous.
No, $5 million to McMahon.
Well, whatever. It was a lot less.
Yeah. And the reason why it wasn't, it sold. It did not die. It did not just say, hey, we're not making the numbers, we're not doing this. They needed somebody who was a real manager of wrestling. Somebody who, like Vince McMahon, who really knew how to run the wrestling business.
To promote this, to get it promoted, to make more money.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but he absorbed it because he basically killed it off.
He didn't kill it off. He put it off. It's not there.
Because you don't see a Thursday Night Thunder WCW talent on it anymore. You don't see a Monday Night Nitro with all the WCW talent. It's not WCW. It's WWE. Same way with ECW.
Bro, maybe you don't know this, but every time you see a WWE show, you see a WCW talent running that show. You got Norman Smiley, who was one of the top wrestlers in WCW.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Bro, can I finish saying what I was saying?
Yeah, but I know where you headed. I know where you headed.
WCW. You got Shane Ham, who was WCW, who is now one of the producers back in the backstage. You got Billy Kidman. You got so many different WCW guys, brand back there putting their touches all over everything, putting their fingerprints over everything in WWE now. WCW never, ever died. Right now, they just got to put up. And I think right now, sooner or later, you're going to see WCW again, and it's going to pick up, and it's going to be exactly where it was at. Right now, if WCW was on TV and somebody put World Championship Wrestling back on TV, how many people you think would watch that? First night.
I would hope a bunch of people.
Now, why would you hope?
I'm just saying, I would hope a bunch of people would want to tune in and watch it.
But why would you hope? Why would you wish?
Because I can't speak for I don't know what time slot it's going to be on. I don't know what channel it's going to be on.
What business? Wait a minute. What business are you in? Well, I mean, you had your own business. That was the finance business, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, then. Don't think about all those business tips. What time? What network? Just say WCW is back on TV. The first night. We're going to have the first night of WCW. Think about how big that would be in the business of wrestling. Think about the stories they could tell just off that one night that they could get going. Think about it.
Well, we'd have to see, because I don't foresee that happening.
Why not? You never worked in the business. I know the business. Okay. The business. Listen, did you foresee The Rock producing a show about who or what killed WCW?
No, I don't think anybody did.
But it is now, right?
Because it's an interesting topic. That's why he did it. It's because of podcasts like this one and about 150 more of them that are arguing right now about it.
Ray, stop speaking for other people.
I'm not speaking. I'm
You
speaking for the general public.
You just said the Rock did this because he was thinking. Did you talk to the Rock?
Did you talk to him?
No, I'm not using his words. I'm not saying this is why.
You said, did
I'm
I
saying
ever
that.
think? You asked me the question, did I ever
No.
think if The
Yeah.
Rock would have ever produced a show
And,
about
and guess
WCW?
and guess how you answered. No, but he's thinking this way. You don't
He's
know what
thinking like everybody else. It's an interesting topic. That's why he did it. Obviously, or
How you
there
know?
wouldn't be this many people talking about it.
Hey, in pro wrestling, when Ric Flair went to the ring and he tripped and hurt his knee in the ring, and you guys thinking like, oh, why did he hurt his knee? Things were planned behind stage, behind the in the background, the office, way before you fans ever knew what was coming. They knew, hey, Rick need to hurt his knee. Glacier need to hurt his leg tonight because they got this whole storyline to play out that you people thinking, well, from here on out, Ray hurt his knee last night, so next week Ray won't be able to wrestle because his knee hurt. But they got storyline. They got a story to tell.
I understand long-term booking. I get all that. I get all of it. The nuances of all of it. I get every bit of it. That you set him up with it, the knee, and then of course that could play into him losing the belt because his opponent focuses on that bad knee and gets him to tap out or whatever down the road.
So what I'm telling you is this right here. Stop believing what you see in pro wrestling.
I'm not believing jack shit. I'm believing what's already happened. We're talking about history now. We ain't talking about futures. We're talking about what already happened, and it happened 24 years ago.
But you falling into the situation. If Stevie Ray were right here, Stevie Ray will tell you, bro, I'm sorry, but you don't know what you're talking about. We see something totally different.
Stevie Ray came around in that podcast, and people will see for themselves. He knows I ain't just another pretty face. I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, you need to act like it then, because now.
What am I saying that's incorrect?
I'm a lot of shit. You said damn near everything coming out of your jaws. You got to rethink that.
You're just doing some great heel work right now. I'm just gonna say that. Behind the scenes, you're doing some great heel work right now on this baby face. But I'm fixing to shine up, baby.
Bro,
make this hot comeback. And I'm gonna put that elbow on you.
Stop doing that, Ray. I just keep telling you.
Put that elbow on you, baby.
So like I was just telling you, I don't think, and me myself, I don't think anyone killed WCW. I think people just said, hey, let's pack it up. It was more
than one person.
Let's pack it up. Let's pack it up. Nobody, no more than one person. Nobody killed WCW. WCW not dead. People just took it off TV.
They dissolved. The fucking company's dissolved, dude. It's gone.
So why are we talking about WCW if the company's gone?
It's 24 years old, and people want to know why the hottest promotion in wrestling for 83 weeks quickly dissipated right after that. How could something so hot shoot off like a rocket and then just die a miserable death on the stages of Orlando down there at Disney on their little bullshit damn thing they were doing at Disney outside? It's sad to me because y'all had 48,000 people in the Georgia Dome watching Goldberg beat Hogan on a Monday night, and then we wrestling Sting and Flair with a T-shirt on because he don't look right cosmetically.
Hey, but wait a minute, Ray. So you projecting something as an image of success. What you saying pro wrestling and WCW was such a fabulous company only because you had Hogan and Sting and these name guys. No, the business was a good business because it was a well-tuned machine running.
You had the business took off because of the NWO. Had they not had that angle, then we go argue about this. If they had not had the NWO angle, they'd have never won 83 straight weeks. That would have not happened.
How do you know? How do you know?
Because history tells me with the orange and yellow, he's American made.
Bro, stop doing that. If you gonna talk.
I'm just saying, him coming down the ramp, doing his old tired shtick, people were booing him. He was not over like he was. People like you know who I'm talking about, brother. He was the one controlling everything.
He was not controlling everything.
Come on,
I don't know
man.
where you get that from. He was not controlled. He had nothing to do with the cat.
I ain't saying you, but I'm talking about.
Hold up. You said everything. He had nothing to do with the cat.
You weren't wrestling for his belt, or he would have been controlling that storyline.
No, I couldn't wrestle for his back. It was opportunity. Now, this is what I'm saying. He wasn't controlling how I was booked, when I was booked. He was not controlling that. What he was controlling
how he was booked.
Yeah, but that was not getting over. That then wasn't the only thing getting over on the show.
I know. Your whole mid-card got over because they couldn't stand the top of the card. The mid-card was the best thing WCW had. That's all it did.
Who was the mid-card?
You and the cruiserweights were the best thing they had.
I want no mid-card first.
You were mid-card mafia, baby.
No, bro. I was a little bit above mid-card.
I get that, but what I'm saying is they don't make mid-carders the damn general managers. I have spoken. I get it. I was there. I lived it. I know.
So during that time, I'm gonna tell you when I thought some of the decisions that was being made was kind of not really clearly thought out. It wasn't a thought out process. And that is when, like, let's use the James Brown pay-per-view. Leading up to the Cow Palace, the pay-per-view, Super Brawl, right? 2000.
Super Brawl. Well, 99.
Yeah, 99?
Yeah.
You sure?
I think it was Super Brawl. It was either 98 or 99.
Yeah. So anyway, one of the biggest pop they got on the show was James Brown coming out. And I knew James was coming. We had negotiated the contract weeks before the pay-per-view. James Brown took the money and said, okay, I'll be there. So we knew he was coming. But the way the lead up was like, it wasn't something like thought out. It was like they'll tell me, go out there and say, James coming tonight. We know he's not coming tonight. We know he's not coming tonight. But go out there and say he's coming, but he just didn't show up. And then we'll surprise people at the pay-per-view. We should have surprised people on Monday night, and James should have said, hey, come see me at Super Brawl. You know what I'm saying? The pay-per-view.
Yeah, you could have worked the angle where he would have been in your corner at Super Brawl and worked that Monday night before the Super Brawl and had a whole week build up to everybody on talking about, man, did you see James Brown with the cat on Monday night Nitro? Yeah, man, they were beating the cat down, and you heard da 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 da, and out came James. James Brown came to the rescue, and now he's gonna be in the cat's corner.
Bro, listen,
he's gonna be in the cat's corner. Look at there, the cat's corner again. He'll be in the cat's corner at the pay-per-view, but they didn't do that. They waited and tried to surprise everybody at the Cow Palace. He comes out, and did they cash in on it? No, they did not cash in.
No, and even to today, like I said, I was reading a post, and they were talking about that. And the first thing they said, how can WCW miss the opportunity to broadcast one of the biggest talented entertainers around, gonna be on that show, and no one said anything about it? The only person got surprised and got a pop was the people inside the dome. The
Cow Palace, yeah.
The Cow Palace, yeah. And
that
then
was
the
in
people
San
that
Francisco,
were watching,
right?
The people that were watching also people watching the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I watched it. I was like, unbelievable.
But can you just imagine what other network would have picked that up just because James Brown was going to be there.
And the pissy part of it for me was, even if they did surprise them at the Cow Palace at Super Brawl on the Sunday night of the pay-per-view, why not follow it up and have a segment in the first or the second segment of the show on Monday night when you got all that mic time talking to 10 million people, explaining it. Like, this is James Brown, he's my homeboy.
But nobody, listen, right there was nobody really in charge. I don't know who in charge. I can't remember if it was Vince Russo or if it was Eric Bischoff.
It was Vince Russo.
And I don't think he did. And, I can't say that.
He
but
didn't
it should have been.
Do it. I mean, it wasn't purpose. I just think there was so much shit going on, so many different things. They couldn't focus on what, on everybody.
Bro, when you have an hour or 2 hour TV show, everything is already there by the time the show. So it's not like you just have to focus. It's not like you just have to focus on one thing. It's like you just want to watch things play out and see the best outcome that you can get from those things.
Well, if you've got a storyline like you and James Brown, I think the fans deserve a follow-up and continue the storyline if there's going to be one, or if that was truly a one-off because he just happened to be in San Francisco on a damn concert and said, I'm going to go by and see my boy Ernest the Cat Miller because he reminds me of myself. If I was a wrestler, I would be the Cat. And if the Cat was a musical artist, he'd be James Brown.
See, that sounds good, but, they knew James Brown was coming weeks before. And me being so green and so new to the business, I have only been in the business starting in 1997, like 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So with them being able to produce a segment like this, it's like, okay, we got everything. Now let's make it the best possible segment. And then with these guys being writers, I think that was one of the differences in that made a big difference in what they were doing as writers and not wrestlers. Let's say you had 3 or 4 wrestlers, booking the show. It would have been a different show. Then what you had writers who know how to write the show. They write everything down and hope that everything look visually like it looked on paper.
Well, yeah, you've got to storyboard it out, and it's got to parlay itself on the screen like it's written on the paper, if it's written correctly. Sometimes they write shit and it just don't come off at all.
It don't come off right. That's what I'm saying. Nobody knew. It was written down. Nobody knew the crowd was gonna pop like that. Nobody knew the crowd was gonna pop.
Nobody knew. I can't help.
Nobody knew.
Would say, you too old for me to help. If you can't pop for James Brown, you just too old for me to help.
Nobody knew what we were going to do. We didn't decide what we were going to do until James came out.
Well, yeah, of course you've got to run it by the talent. I mean, if you wanted him to come off the top rope in them slick shoes, he would probably say, I can't do that. I can't do that.
He was supposed to come to the ring, say hello, and trick the people. We didn't know how they were going to react to watching him walk down the trail, the railway to the ring.
Yeah, the ramp.
They popped the whole time. They popped the whole time.
They didn't know that, but you knew they knew that y'all was going to dance. That was a foregone conclusion.
I didn't know. I didn't know we were going to dance.
Man, I didn't know we were going to dance. You've been dancing since you got in there.
Bro, listen, this James Brown, this is a big entertainer. I didn't know what he was going to do. He just got in there. He got in there. We were going to bump. Huh?
Were you nervous? Were you nervous to do his little shimmy with your feet like that?
Bro, I'm totally different. When the lights on, I'm totally different. I don't
feel the lights on right now. That's what I'm asking. You
I
weren't a
don't
little bit
feel
nervous about
anything.
doing this
Wasn't
move?
nervous. Wasn't nervous. It was just part of being an entertainer.
Okay.
I mean, are you nervous when you eat a hamburger?
Hell no. I eat that so much in 3 bites. Be like, depends on the burger. That's what I tell them. Hey, depends on the burger. Depends on who cooked it.
So before we end this, Big Ray, what do you think out of everybody in our last episode, Stevie Ray, myself, who do you think was right about who killed WCW? Stevie Ray point of view or Sonny point of view? I think Sonny point of view was more that out of control, no boss, no head guys
No
were running
leadership.
the show. Leadership.
I would
That's what.
say it's a
And
blend of all of it.
Stevie Ray thought it was a bigger decision to kill the show. It wasn't just leadership and the people who were running WCW. It was the organization.
The powers that
owned the
be
company.
above, the people above the wrestling programming killed it. The Brad Siegels, the people that, the Time Warner people that bought in, decided they didn't want that. They wanted that time slot for TNT. They wanted some kind of damn murder show or something on there, and they had more TV program and something that was more family friendly for advertising dollars than Blood and Guts and whatnot. They just weren't wrestling people. Ted Turner was your only ally there. And when he started losing his voice, I feel like that's when the turn started. And then they said, you know what? We out. Why you turn sideways? There you back. Then the decision was made that, hey, we get rid of it.
Listen, I'm gonna watch a couple of episodes once everything settled down. Once everything settled down, then I'm gonna tell some real stories because I was there. I heard Eric Bischoff talking about right then in the midst of things crumbling. I talked to Eric Bischoff when Vince McMahon first came in. I talked to Vince McMahon. He looked at me and said, "Hey, you'll be up in WWE with us." They will tell Universal. When Universal purchased it, that's who my checks were coming from. I knew what they were saying. So I want to just hear the thing out. I want to get as much information and people opinion on who killed WCW, as many as I can, so I can really think about this. And I want to put some news out about this too.
At the end of that, I need you to say, I have spoken.
I have spoken. Stop eating so many potato chips.
Hey, I'm trying to slow down on that because all the seed oil in them things ain't good for you. The seed oils are bad, clogging up these arteries.
How about what do you mean? Is that in all chips?
All of them. All of them. There's
I
one
don't
company out,
understand this.
there's one company
you
out there called Mesa, 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 that doesn't use seed oil in their chips. And they don't have a lot of potato chips. They have a lot of those tortilla chips, like those little triangle chips.
Well, we ain't got time to finish here. So we gonna come back once this thing is over. We're gonna have another conversation.
And what you gonna do, brother?
Okay, it's time to go.
No, it ain't. We got to say bye to all the people out there and make sure that they hit that like and subscribe button and donate, give till it hurts, and then give a little more so we can stay on the air.
And well, we gonna stay on the air anyway, Big Ray. We gonna stay on the air.
I understand that. They can't stop us. They can't stop us.
Big Ray. We gonna be able to talk and say whatever the hell. This is our platform. We gonna be able to say what the hell we want to say. If they don't like it, if they don't like the way me and you connect, the way we have a conversation, don't listen. Go listen to somebody else.
Kiss my ass.
Yeah, go listen to Vince Russo. Go listen to 83
Listen
Weeks.
To all of them. I want them to listen to all of them.
Yeah,
from Jericho to the Big Show.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But we don't care.
Just don't listen
All
to
right.
Ric Flair.
All right, Big Ray.
Thank
We'll
you
be
to everybody
talking
out
good.
there. Thank you to Recite. Thank you to Lux. We'll see you next time on the Cat's Corner podcast with your host, the Cat, Ernest, the Cat Miller, Big Shug. We out of here.